The Chosen One trope is ubiquitous in fiction, and Star Wars is no exception. In a galaxy far, far away, Anakin Skywalker unambiguously fulfills this prophecy by destroying the malevolent Emperor and ending the nefarious Sith Order, in both canon and Legends continuities, however briefly. But what if there was another prophecy at play that contributed to the Emperor's death and the end of the Sith? One that went untitled and unheralded, but also one that we heard about way back in 1980 and was invoked by the Emperor himself. Interested? Then click that like and subscribe, and let's ponder pop culture. So it's the year of our Sith Lord, 2023, which means it's the 40th anniversary of the release of Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Due to a variety of other obligations, I have missed out on quite a bit of Star Wars content. However, I've had some free time, and I got thinking about this nugget of Star Wars lore. Because it's so relevant to Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, I thought I'd release a video about it. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, the Chosen One trope is everywhere in fiction. You can find it everywhere. And in Star Wars, the primary manifestation of the trope is the prophecy of the Jedi Chosen One.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force.
With all due respect, Master, is he not the Chosen One? Is he not to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force?
So the prophecy says.
You were the Chosen One! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force! Not leave it in darkness!
Now, we first didn't hear about this until 1999 with the release of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It played kind of a through line throughout the prequels, and then retroactively, we know played a role in the original trilogy as well. According to multiple Star Wars authorities, including George Lucas himself, various encyclopediae, compendiums, essential guides, things like that, the Chosen One prophecy was fulfilled at the end of Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, when Darth Vader was redeemed, restored to his Jedi iteration as Anakin Skywalker, and then he killed the Emperor by throwing him into the Death Star reactor shaft. In so doing, he ended the Sith Order. Now, we know in canon and Legends continuities that was not quite to be. Palpatine was resurrected in both of these continuities. In Legends, he was resurrected in the early 90s in the Dark Empire comics. And then, of course, in 2019, in canon, the Emperor was reborn or resurrected in Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Both continuities, at least on paper, say that the prophecy was real. Anakin Skywalker was the central figure of the prophecy, and the conditions of the prophecy were satisfied when he killed Darth Sidious. However, when I went back and rewatched the original trilogy a few years ago, something struck me. In particular, something struck me from a scene in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, in that iconic exchange between Darth Vader and the Emperor.
What is thy bidding, my master?
Now, it may not seem like it, but there's quite a bit of nuance packed into this scene, as the film would later, by itself, hint, and as is corroborated by multiple sources in both canon and Legends continuities. You see, in both continuities, we know that Vader and the Emperor have each secretly known the identity of the person who destroyed the Death Star, Luke Skywalker, for some time. But in this scene, it's the first time that they are both publicly discussing it with one another. And we also know, from both the film alone and also sources in both continuities, that each of the players in this scene have their own mutually exclusive agenda. For Darth Vader, at least initially, the existence of his son represents only an opportunity to recruit a potentially powerful ally to help him overthrow the Emperor, a feat he's otherwise incapable of achieving on his own. But for the Emperor himself, Luke Skywalker's existence represents both an opportunity and a challenge. The opportunity, of course, is to cynically replace Darth Vader with a potentially more powerful pawn, as he did with Darth Maul and Tyrannus before Vader. But for this video, the challenge the Emperor foresees is much more pertinent. And consider the language and the phrases that he uses to describe this challenge. He senses a great disturbance in the Force.
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
He notes the Sith have a new enemy.
We have a new enemy.
An enemy, he tells Vader, that could destroy the Sith.
He could destroy us.
And to avoid that fate, he proclaims to Vader, the son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi.
The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi.
And for Darth Vader's part, he clearly interprets the Emperor's words as a confirmation of Vader's own suspicions that Luke can destroy the Emperor, hence why, later on in the movie, he attempts to recruit Luke to do just that.
Luke, you can destroy the Emperor. He has foreseen this. It is your destiny.
So all of that was from Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, released in 1980. Now we got to move forward 3 years to 1983 and the release of Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Specifically, the final 2 scenes between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor in the Death Star throne room. Let's start with the first of the 2 scenes, in which Luke, provoked by Darth Vader's threat to target Luke's sister Princess Leia and corrupt her to the dark side, attacks his father in a hate-induced rage, bringing himself perilously close to the dark side. Having defeated Darth Vader in a categorically un-Jedi-like way, Luke is now presented with a choice by the Emperor himself. But even in this extraordinarily tense moment, Luke Skywalker is self-aware. He sees his spiritual footing. He understands the stakes. And now, of course, lying before him is his father, who is simultaneously both a cautionary tale against the perils of dark side servitude and a faint reminder of the tradition to which Luke has pledged his honor. And so, when facing the Emperor's offered choice, Luke Skywalker makes his decision and pledges his life. And of course, we all know what happens after this because it's one of the most iconic sequences in all of pop culture. In his fury, the rejected Emperor attacks Luke, nearly torturing him to death, but makes the fatal mistake of doing so in front of Luke's own conflicted father. It's clear that as Darth Vader stands there, he's considering his master's callous disregard for him and intense sadism for Luke, and weighs both against his son's agony, mercy, and courage. And thus both Darth Vader and Darth Sidious fall before a redeemed Anakin Skywalker, who is at last prepared to relinquish power, control, and life for one he loves. But I submit to you that these scenes are not only the culmination of the higher-profile, vaunted Chosen One prophecy of Jedi lore that, thanks to the prequels, we now understand to span the entire Skywalker saga. No, I submit to you that these scenes also show the fulfillment of a second, cleverer, more subtle prophecy that we first heard from the Emperor's own lips in 1980. The prophecy that if the son of Skywalker becomes a Jedi, he will destroy the Emperor and the Sith. And so in 1983, in the throne room of the second Death Star, the son of Skywalker passes his informal trials, rejects the dark side, and declares himself a Jedi before the Sith.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
And the Emperor himself acknowledges this.
So be it, Jedi.
And 5 minutes later, he's dead. Happy anniversary, Return of the Jedi.